Good afternoon. Um, Today is March 21st, 2020, and it's a little overcast today and damp and rainy, and uh, spring has recoiled just a little bit. It's not cold, but um, it's not 80 degrees like it was yesterday or the day before. As you can hear in the background, my neighbors across the water are doing maintenance to their exterior. It's cool enough and damp enough to warrant fire today, which is nice. Um, yeah, one of my favorite things, especially in times of contemplation, is to light a fire and get lost in the flames and the impermanence of all things. Uh, which reminds me of a poem I wrote, which I don't have with me right now, but maybe I'll read that at another time about fire. Today I came across a copy of Henry David Thoreau, the works of Thoreau, um, and I'm going to read an excerpt called The Visitors. I had 3 chairs in my house, one for solitude, 2 for friendship, 3 for society. When visitors came in large and unexpected numbers, there was but the 3rd chair for them all. But they generally economized the room by standing up. It is surprising how many great men and women a small house will contain. I have had 25 or 30 souls with their bodies at once under my roof, and yet we often parted without being aware that we had become very near to one another. Many of our houses, both public and private, with their almost innumerable apartments, their huge halls, and their cellars for the storage of wines and other munitions of peace, appear to me extravagantly large for their inhabitants. They are so vast and magnificent that the latter seem to be only vermin which infest them. I am surprised when the herald blows his summons before some Tremont or Astor or Middlesex house, to see come creeping out over the piazza for all inhabitants a ridiculous mouse, which soon again slinks into some hole in the pavement. One inconvenience I sometimes experience in so small a house, the difficulty of getting to a sufficient distance from my guests when we begin to utter the big thoughts in big words. You want room for your thoughts to get into sailing trim and run a course or two before they make their port. The bullet of your thought must have overcome its lateral and ricochet motion and fallen into its last and steady course before it reaches the ear of the hearer, else it may plow out again through the side of his head. Also, our sentences wanted room to unfold and form their columns in the interval. Individuals, like nations, must have suitable, broad, and natural boundaries, even a considerable neutral ground between them. I have found it singular luxury to talk across the pond to a companion on the other side. In my house, we were so near that we could not begin to hear. We could not speak low enough to be heard, as when you throw 2 stones into calm water so near that they break each other's undulations. If we are merely loquacious and loud talkers, then we can afford to stand very near together, cheek by jowl, and feel each other's breath. But if we speak reservedly and thoughtfully, we want to be further apart, that all animal heat and moisture may have a chance to evaporate. If we would enjoy the most intimate society with that in each of us which is without or above being spoken to, we must not only be silent, but commonly so far apart bodily that we cannot possibly hear each other's voice in any case. Referred to this standard, speech is for the convenience of those who are hard of hearing. But there are many fine things which we cannot say if we have to shout. As the conversation began to assume a loftier and grander tone, we gradually shoved our chairs further apart till they touched the wall in opposite corners, and then commonly there was not room enough. My best room, however, my withdrawing room, always ready for company, on whose carpet the sun rarely fell, was the pine wood behind my house. Thither in summer days, when distinguished guests came, I took them, and a priceless domestic swept the floor and dusted the furniture and kept the things in order. Um, I have this habit of just opening books to any page and finding something that seems to be fitting of the time, and that's what happened this morning with this excerpt. Um, I think it speaks volumes. I think that this is a great opportunity to hear each other without speaking, to create distance between our bodies so that we may have our thoughts be complete and not exit the other side of one's head. I hope you are all finding peace and comfort in the distance that we are experiencing right now, and that the irony is that it will bring us all closer together. I'm going to begin my 5-minute meditation. I hope you will join me. I'll find my comfortable seat. I will sit up tall. I will allow my eyes to soften and gently close. I will acknowledge the beautiful song of the birds. I will acknowledge the beautiful sound of my neighbor sawing away. I will acknowledge the damp ground beneath my feet. I will acknowledge the warmth of the flames behind me. And I will acknowledge my breath and bring my awareness to the point on my nostril where the air enters my body. As I bring awareness back into the world around me, allow my eyes to open. Take it all in. Notice how I feel differently than I did before I began. I thank you for joining me. I love you. May all beings be well. Pure thoughts, pure words, and pure intentions. See you guys tomorrow.